Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The energy of Adiranda, beautiful. The words dripping with love and truth. For I want to give you the truth of joy. The real truth of joy. How is it seen by spirit? Joy. How is it seen by humanity instinctively? Joy. So I'm going to start with what you don't expect. I have given you information now for years that this planet wallows in old energy. And the whole reason I'm here is because that will change. That for eons, literally, humanity has been in a low consciousness state and never ever lifted itself out of it. Not really. It had peaceful times, but always turned into war yet again. There was never a coherence in humanity. There was always mistrust, mostly between those of different countries who didn't talk to one another, or even if they could, their leaders wouldn't let them. This is a low consciousness planet for so long, and now it begins to shift. But let's talk about joy, happiness, the intuitive attribute of smiling. My partner has been around the planet and has learned much. He was not prepared necessarily for the greetings he got in 2 countries. I will have it remain nameless. And in those countries, he was informed he smiled too much. And he was taken aback by that, and he said, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, in our culture, smiling is not really something you should do because it means you're hiding something. You see, the one who smiles is a dishonest person," he was told. He didn't pay attention to that. He did it more, just because that was his reaction to having that news. He was in one of these countries, in a small restaurant, and a young person, barely 18 she was, bent down at his table and spoke quietly. And she said, "I see the internet all the time, and it just seems like Americans, they smile all the time. Is it really true, sir? Because I know you're an American, I can see it." And my partner said to her, "Well, they don't smile all the time, but we do smile a lot." And he always remembered her reply. And she said, "I'd like that to happen here." That's the young people starting to watch the internet, starting to see so many things they never saw before, and learning something they never knew before. Why is joy something that gets suppressed as a condition of control? And the reason is because joy is one of the primary God energies of the creative source, if not the primary one. From those in those countries, I would like to talk to their mothers. Say, when you have the child, and you come home with a child and you're so enamored with the child, what do? What's the first intuition you do? Do you bend down over the child and teach them to frown? And the answer is no. You poke them and you tickle them and you want them to smile, don't you? That is instinct. Every single mother knows this. You don't teach the child to be unhappy. That they will learn by themselves by watching you, if you so choose. But the first thing a mother does is to get that child to laugh Because when the child laughs, your world lights up, and you know it. That's from the other side of the veil, dear ones. I want to give you an example of something. I want to walk you through something. Human beings are very linear, and you have no frame of reference other than your own. This is not an indictment of who you are. This is simply the way it is. There can be no other way. Your only reference you have is what you see and who you are. If you had another reality to come and go in, you'd be able to then quote it and talk about it, but you don't. You have that reality, which is you. In this linear reality that you experience, there's one human, one name, one face. That's you. You see it every day in the mirror. You don't think of yourself as being multiple, even though you are in a multidimensional form or way. You don't really look at yourself and see your soul, although you have one. You don't look at yourself and see the Creator, although you are part of it. Your reality is what you can see and touch and feel. You're told, by the way, that when you die, that soul of yours goes someplace and something happens, depending upon that which you believe. But how do you envision that? And I'll tell you. A human being sees themselves in their body representing their soul, then going to perhaps be judged or not, or to a party or not, but they see themselves as themselves in 3D, in their body, going perhaps to heaven. It's so interesting to hear some of the questions about heaven that the spiritualists have intercepted for years when humans will ask, what's heaven like? Can we see like we see? How can we see without eyes? You'll say. This is what the questions are. One of my favorites from my partner was, are there rocking chairs in heaven? Because the human who asked, just their favorite thing to do is to sit in the rocking chair and watch. And so you see, you put your own reality even on the esoteric things that are so grand from the Creator about where you might go when you die. But you put that in a human form, in a three-dimensional form. You see you as you and ask that question, how can I see without eyes? I have a metaphor for you. You'll understand it. Let's pretend you're a caterpillar. Let's pretend in this story that a caterpillar has a little higher consciousness than it does and can think like you do. Let's say that caterpillar is pondering the same questions you have. When it goes into the deep sleep, you know where I'm going with this. The caterpillar itself, as it exists today on Earth, barely sees at all. They can differentiate light from dark and see shapes, and that's about it. It's good enough for them because they don't know any different. That's their life. And the caterpillar is asking itself, when I go into that deep sleep, into that great beyond where I am told I will fly like a bird, how will I be able to see? Will I be able to see as good as I do now? I hope so. Same question you're asking. How can I see without eyes? What's going to be like to not have my body? And what can I see or feel? And what is it that will take place? And that caterpillar is asking that and starting to ponder it, maybe even worry about it. And then it goes into the deep sleep. It goes into the cocoon, and magic takes place. There aren't many of these for you to look at, dear ones. That metamorphosis of that caterpillar is a miracle. When the caterpillar emerges as the butterfly, and spreads its wings, indeed, to fly like a bird. Let's look at the eyes. That caterpillar worried about the eyes. That butterfly has thousands of images that are clear. That butterfly can see ultraviolet light and polarized light. That butterfly can see the colors it needs to for the pollination of the flowers. It sees 100 times, 1,000 times better and differently than the caterpillar ever conceived sight would be. When you take your last breath and a little time has passed, your soul goes into a metamorphosis. And I'll tell you, that soul of yours starts to fly. And you don't have eyeballs anymore. You have sight. You don't know what sight is. You have sight and the feelings and knowledge and awareness. You don't even know what those names are compared to what you will have. Because being a human on earth is so different from going home. It's a temporary, hobbled condition that so many of you endure without joy. Never understanding that joy is sacred. Joy is from the Creator. That's what's in heaven. Joy. And in you flying like a bird, you can not only see as you well thought you could as a human, but you can see light that you never saw before. All the spectrums. We sing your name in light. We cannot explain that which you become and who you are. Let me tell you the first thing that you feel. Oh, dear human, in linear form, you see yourself passing away. And you see yourself as a human being in linear form, perhaps walking a stairway, and you're going to meet somebody, perhaps at the pearly gates, as you're told, or whatever that, which is the metaphor of leaving and coming and meeting somebody from the other side for the first time. What's it like? I'll tell you what it's like, because that is going to what you're going to remember. What it's like, the first thing you're going to meet and see and feel is joy. That's what I want to tell you. That is probably one of the largest, most profound truths I could give you. What's it like on the other side? Joyful. That is the essence of the creative source of the universe, of you, of your galaxy, that I am trying to pass on to you and tell you, when you find joy, you find everything. You find health. You find extension of life. You find beauty. You find reason for being alive. You find peace. And when this planet starts to become what it's going to be, you're going to look back and say, what made the difference? And I'll tell you, everybody could smile at everybody, and you wouldn't distrust anyone for doing it. This is the truth, dear ones, and it's why we talk so much about what we talk about. Bringing that which is from the other side of the veil to earth is the theme. Because as the veil starts to lift and lessen and be more transparent, you're going to find not just an increase in integrity, but an increase in reason for being, laughter, happiness, and joy. I would not give you these things if it were not the truth. Feel it in your very essence, because you have the ability to discern right now if I am giving you that which is true or not. It is built into you. It is part of you. Old soul, it's the lineage of why you're here today, and so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Each of you is an energy generator. And what you choose to generate not only affects you, but those around you, and then they affect others. We have spoken of the shift. In fact, that's all we speak of. It's the reason the channeling is here at all. Dear ones, what you do, how you act, but what you believe you can do is really the catalyst for everything else. And we speak to you individually but collectively. For what you should know, perhaps, that hasn't been emphasized enough is the power you have collectively with synchronous thought. Did we ever tell you about the confluence of compassion? When you yawn, have you noticed other people yawn around you? You ever ask why? Is it just suggestion, or is there more? We speak about the contagious laughter of how one happy person who is laughing in front of you can literally rewrite your emotions for that moment. What is happening when you see somebody who's so full of joy, laughing so hard? You can't just watch it, can you? You can't just sit there, can you? You start smiling and then you start laughing with that person. There is physics here. And if you want to call it the physics of consciousness as we've been teaching, or the physics of compassion that we're going to teach, it's more than contagious in 3D. And that's the hard part for you to visualize and understand, that you create ripples. Ripples in the fabric of this planet's atmosphere, if you want to call it that. In its quantumness, if you wish to call it that. In the grid systems, if you wish to call it that. There are principles here that you don't really fully understand yet or haven't studied yet, that creates a synchronous energy that spreads around you and others, and can go all over the planet. The artist, Debbie, has shown you something that you should see. It's planetary joy, celebration, and the desire for peace. The desire for compassion. It goes a lot of places. Think about what you can accomplish in a few moments with others. It goes way beyond anything you have been told, where there are two or more gathered together. Way beyond that. There will be a way of measuring this soon. More than there is now. There are those on this planet who are dedicated to measuring the effect of compassion globally. It's going to get better. There'll be instruments that will measure what a group can do that's as few as 600 to affect those around the planet. My partner spoke today because I told him to, of those who have lost their loved ones. a few hours ago, and you concentrate on that, and you send peace to them, and let me tell you, this is daily. This is all over the planet. This happens all the time. In places you've never heard of on an individual basis, in countries you've never visited and never will. There is sorrow. And light workers around the planet, I'm going to tell you that the new job is to place joy on this grid. And so those not only in sorrow, but those who would think about committing acts that would cause sorrow may change their minds. Changing consciousness is not fast on this planet, and it's not easy. But the ones who do it are you. You're going to leave this conference today. You're going to be with friends, and there will be meals and laughter and travel. And you'll say, well, that was good. Make it more than good. Make it last with you. Make an impression that you're going to change and do something you didn't do before you got here. Understand the power you have collectively. The technology allows you to gather together in a consciousness, speak to each other across the globe in real time. What are you going to do with that? Have you thought about it? It's the confluence of compassion. It's catchy. Have you ever had somebody who was compassionate to you at a time when you really needed it? Who stood there and they had no agenda except to listen to you or watch you cry. No agenda. They just held your hand. They were just there. That compassion is something that you would then remember for a lifetime. And when you had the opportunity, you could hardly wait to do what they had done for you. Dear ones, it's catchy. You catch it. It goes in and sticks because you remember something that is of God. The message couldn't be clearer. Think these things this day. Stand tall in your compassion, not your empathy. It does not help you to cry for others. It helps you to stand and support others with your maturity and with your wisdom. And so it is.